And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Revenant eSports. We are here in the Ash Division, and we're getting into this matchup right now. I'm your caster of the day, Desirux, followed by caster who gets a lot of casting in, not enough sleep. It's Primus.
Unfortunately, life is too OP sometimes. It's good to be here for what I believe is the first week of Revenant eSports' fall split here, where bands are coming in hot and furious here, and a couple oddball picks coming in terms of bands coming in so far.
Yeah, well, it is a gold and plat division-esque, as I should say, but that always means there's a little bit more comfort, a little less away from the meta, and a lot more fun to be had. But this matchup for this week is between APSB bot and the challenged challengers.
And the challengers were the winners of the preseason tournament coming in, so there's a lot of hype surrounding them. We're seeing Revenant coming in for the top lane for the side of APSB, and then we have Mundo and Jax on the other side. A lot of power coming in for both these lanes, and Mundo Revenant, that's a matchup of the ages.
Map of the ages, but Revenant has fallen off. He's the original lane bully before Aatrox decided to go and go get a rework and stuff. But we do have a little bit of a problem. We are going to get back to that champion select in just a second as things get sorted out.
But yeah, I'm assuming there was just a little minor misclick on a champion. I'm assuming that's what it was. But
fortunately for you guys, you don't actually see that, thanks to Coach Kaiser having the absolute best screen to ever be witnessed in amateur history. This production is insane.
Yeah, Coach Kaiser and of course the man behind the scenes Flash doing a lot of work on our graphics. We're gonna hop back in here. I'm gonna be curious to see how the rest of the draft really shapes out, because we've been seeing a lot of marksmen coming back down in the bottom lane, really going away from the mages in the bottom lane, or as Papa Smithy refers to it, as the awesome dudes bot lane, the double bruisers bot. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these two teams approach it. I know Alcaroth played a prolific Jinx in the preseason tournament, as you saw in the highlight quick before the stream started. So that could be something they're looking at to take in either the first rotation with their last pick or in the second rotation.
Yeah, but that being said, we have started to fall away from that no meta where things were just
slowly but
all
surely
over the place. And some of that is a testament to the latest patch that came out. We saw that patch 8.15 looked to cheapen the items a little bit that crit ADCs would build, that Storm Razor, the Zeal items, the Infinity Edge, to make them spike much earlier, which means about 700 less gold for them to get their 3-item power spike, where they are actually significant.
Yeah, so it does give them a earlier power spike. They do get a little less stats due to the prices dropping a little bit on those items. They're still generally going to be in a pretty decent spot once they can get to those items here. So it's going to be curious to see where these two teams look to go in the bot lane. And that is not a mage I've been seeing a lot of. That Ahri is certainly a pick rising to power, especially with the buffs to her E, which I believe was on 814. She got a 0.4 CC duration increase on her charm at level 1. That just absolutely spiked her win rate massively. I believe it went up like 2.5–3%.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the small things that you need for a champion to become significant once again, and that little change, that's all you need to get in that extra damage and really start punishing lanes.
Yeah, because you no longer have to go 3 points in your E as they are in mid lane in order to get the full utility out, in order to get your damage. Now you can just throw your 1 point in there and go straight into maxing your W, which you would generally do after you get the 3 points in E, just to guarantee you get your full damage proc off. But the Malzahar, it's still a strong pick, especially considering you can combo that very well with the Nocturne. And we're going to see Jhin and Kai'Sa in the bot lane. Two of very, very powerful ADCs currently on this patch.
Yeah, especially Jhin. He's loving this patch right now. The items being cheaper means he gets his spikes cheaper, quicker. But the big thing about Jhin is he's spiking all the damn time. This champion benefits from every item of that crit build and benefits greatly each time he picks up one completed item. From the Storm Razor to the Rapid Fire to the Infinity Edge, it only gets better for him. Meanwhile, someone like Kaisa needs a little bit of time to actually ramp up. We are starting to see a little bit of deviation from that build that Kaisa's would go generally from the Rage Blade to the Nashor's Tooth to the Rabadon's Death Cap. People are starting to edge towards that crit build, but not really committing to it. It's still a little bit better to go for that Rage Blade build just because the damage it outputs when you get to the late game is absolutely immense. But the trick is, can you make it there in one piece?
Yeah, that's the biggest issue, which is why a lot of the Kaisas that I've been playing with in this bracket of play have been favoring more of the Storm Razor build, just because it gives them a much earlier power spike. The big thing I'm going to be watching for Alcaroth on this gen is whether he's going to be choosing to go with the Fleet Footwork or if he's going with the Hail of Blades, because the amount of power Hail of Blades gives Jin once you hit 20 to 25 minutes is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, not only that, but in terms of once you get the Storm Razor, the procs from it right there is enough to be so significant in trying to maneuver around the map, dance around your opponents, and just deliver shot after shot without taking anything back. It's a silly keystone to take on Jin, but it's one that works beautifully.
Yes, especially considering the fact that he's going to have the bear on Nocturne trying to jump onto his face over and over again, because as Nocturne, you're really not going to be wanting to ult the Ahri, the Jax, or the Mundo. Your primary target is going to be Alcaroth or Apiko down in the bottom lane here. But it's going to be interesting to see how this early game really shapes out, because that's going to set the tone and the pace of the game.
Yeah, but now to introduce you to your teams, we're going to throw it over to Coach Kaiser.
Sorry, I had my mic muted there for a second. And now for APSB bot lane, we've got the ult, the clone in top lane, Lord Goose in the jungle, Raze in the mid lane, Kiora in the bot, and Epic Sax Gandalf for playing support. Back to you guys.
Yeah, so first week is always one of the most crucial weeks. You want to start strong so you don't have to struggle in those later weeks. And that's what it's all about. You want that really, really potent push to start getting yourself primed for playoff position. And if you can't get that push, it's very hard to come back from.
You definitely need to make sure you're setting the tone for your season with the early games, even if you're not necessarily able to pull out those early victories. If you can set the tone and decide where you want to go as your team, like what's going to be your team's definitive style, the sooner you can settle into that, the better it is for your team, because comfort breeds consistently, which breeds success in this bracket of play. You have to be comfortable on your picks. You have to, as you get more comfortable, you get more consistent. And as you get more consistent, you start winning more often. So it's very, very important that you get a good foot forward, even if you're unsuccessful winning the game, that you start off on a good note here. And there's a lot of pressure, I would have to say, on challengers, given that they're coming in as quote unquote the top seed from winning the preseason tournament.
Yeah, but on that note, we are going to take a short break. When we return, APSB takes on the challengers. Hold up, because when we return, some more League of Actions coming right at you.
See No Excuse coming in from the back. Reese's Feast is going to start to engage on this. Tuberculosis is going to flash away, but No Excuse is going to be able to catch up to him and give Mundo that much needed first blood.
He has a pretty strong
Oh, but it looks like Mage Core is going to start to get engaged on by Chetty. Chetty is low on mana. Mage Core is going to use the barrier. Both barriers pop. Chetty's going to start to retreat. He doesn't have any mana. It's going to start to auto-attack, but they're definitely in the driver's seat of this one. Do you see that? Oh, Grumpy gets knocked out. He's in trouble bubble. A good close up cast to try to hit uppercut. Grumpy flashes some mastery for a little bit extra EM. Grumpy, no way to be able to escape. Just kill him. Oh, and every time oh, no excuses. Engage on a Grumpy. And he's going to look like he's going to be able to splashes a mastery to pick up the double kill.
And maybe able to get a pick on him or on this Fiddlesticks.
They'll be able to start to engage on the Galaxy Supernova. Looks like Ardurso actually gets caught out from a Pike Q and stunned. See that Nocturne is going to start to use his ultimate to engage onto the Pike. Pike's going to be dropped low. He's not going to be able to. He's going to be able to keep him in line. Ramen is still going to try to go for the engage. Well, hey, there, Lucid is going to come in with the Rise.
They're just poking each other.
Oh, no, but actually Doc is going to try a good pull to avoid the charge from the Doc. Will that Hemo Blade be enough to take him out? Rise actually is a comeback up. Here is going to proc out and one more turret shot down as
well.
Oh, but we see that looks like Darso is going to try to avenge Durst, so he's going to actually start to get engaged on himself. Vladimir is actually going to be in the middle of the fight, throwing out a ton of damage. Looks like 2 will fall for the side of Uwu, but looks like Rise is able to get out of there in time. But looks like
I think it doesn't drop the top if they can get a kill.
We see Durso coming in and going to be able to stopwatch and stay alive. Very local is going to get caught in the middle of that. Durso actually goes down. They are able to pick up the kill on the Rift Herald, but now Rise is going to go down. Barely lucky, taking out the Sejuani. He's going to be able to pop more damage. Ramen is still trying to fight, but looks like actually it comes out to the full combo. But you also get, looks like Goldcraft tried to go on the engage on the Mage Core, actually gets ultimated into low zone, but now we see Goldcraft almost getting taken out by Mage Core, and no excuse showing himself so much in the map, so much junk control as No Excuse is going to start to engage onto Goldcraft. See that No Excuse is going to start to go onto Goldcraft. Gunslinger is going to be able to find the saving trouble bubble. Is going to be using the Lancer Spike to keep himself alive. Goldcraft dropping low. He's going to flash out. Gold Excuse almost being able to get out of there alive. Now an ultimate out here in the fight bot. And a fight here at top with Tuberculous. Man, he's able to find it. But now Magic Parts comes and TP's a good knockup. Takes out the Lamb without any sort of engagement, but looks like Orin himself finding himself dead. Now down tonight as Magic Part's gonna start to channel all of the Forge God. Throws it onto the Ori, but she has Starship to protect her. Now Morgana is gonna try to come in. Stays alive, but a good ultimate from Oriana picks 3 of them and another 2 deaths. 3 deaths on the side of Team 7 as Dalsinor is being dropped low. But looks like you're not gonna be able to get away today. Code can't possibly protect this. Magic Part does.
And we are back, ready to finally get into this, Primus. I am excited. Week 1 is always where it is the most fun. What do you expect to see to come out of this?
It's going to be very interesting. There's a couple little interesting things we're seeing being brought to the table. We're seeing a Ignite Renekton up in that top lane. It's going to give them a lot of kill threat onto the Mundo, which, as I said earlier, it's a matchup for the ages. It's been a reasonable matchup for pretty much 4 seasons. Back in season 4 is when it originally came into being with the Trinity in the top lane of Shyvana, Mundo, and Renekton, where it was rock, paper, scissors on who beat the rest. But it's definitely going to put a lot of pressure on Tuberculosis because he doesn't have that same level of safety once he hits that level 6 that we always see from a Mundo.
Yeah, but at the same time, Mundo is one of those where he's not going to fare that well early, but it only takes a few items before it just becomes the unstoppable brick wall that's hard to deal with. There's only so much damage Ult the Clone can build before he gets to that point. So you got to abuse it early because it won't be something that's there forever.
Yeah, definitely the biggest thing for Ult the Clone, in my opinion, is when he's going to pick up that Executioner's Calling, because that's really going to set the tone of the game, because that's going to give him that extra buffer zone for when his his Ignite isn't up, he still has kill pressure onto this Mundo, because that's really the only way he stays relevant in this game, because eventually it's going to get to the point where Mundo's just going to dominate him. Oh, but
we already got a lot of what a pincer to come out and completely stop the bear from that early scuttle.
Yeah, a little bit too over aggressive here. We're only 2 minutes 40 seconds in. Your bot lane did not have lane priority, and I think that was just a little bit too aggressive coming in from the bear to try to secure bot lane spell.
I don't even think it's aggression. I just think it's ignorance at that point, because you look at the way the lanes are set up. That's pushed in favor of the challengers, and he completely disrespects that. They just roam up and take it for free.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, as I play on a team myself, like, I always tell my junglers, if you're going to start one side of the map, look to take the opposite scuttle. We're seeing a massive trade in the bottom lane, that early red buff.
That was scary, very scary for Epic Sax Gandalf. He needs to be careful where he's positioning. You got to respect that red buff damage. It can really add up.
Yeah, it was just a little bit too aggressive coming in from Epic Sax Gandalf. You really are very... Like, Braum is one of the weakest champions from levels 2 to level 5. He really doesn't spike again until he hits that level 6 mark, especially into a ranged support matchup. And he really needs to be playing a lot more respectful, especially considering he has a Kai'Sa AD carry, which again is a scaling AD carry. It needs time to really start to ramp up as a champion.
One thing I want to throw it back to, actually, it's throwing itself back to Tuberculosis versus Ult the Clone. Out goes the Ignite. Will it tick enough? He needs to turn off, and it goes down. Ult the Clone in the 1v1. That's what he needs to do.
Yes, that's exactly what you want to see. If you are AP Sedge, you get that kill up onto your Ignite Renekton, which has to get ahead, because if he does not, the lack of that teleport is really going to limit their potential plays as we get later on into the game.
Yeah, he's a bully. He's a duelist. He's Aatrox before Aatrox got reworked. That's the whole point of this Renekton pick. He needs to exploit that to take down the Mundo. Ultimately, he will become a split pushing machine, but he doesn't have teleport, so it has to be one that's dealt from pressure and having people respond to his pressure.
It does provide a lot of safety for the side of challengers as the game goes on, because if once Mundo hits his item spikes, they are going to always have side lane priority, because even if Ult the Clone can theoretically fight, as we're seeing more and more trades. Oh, that was dirty.
That was absolutely filthy. The chain of damage and CC, there was nowhere else for him to go but the grave. But we do have a little bit of a fight breaking out towards this top side. Tuberculosis still suffering. The Ignite is down, so he has nothing to worry about. But look at the bot side. No excuse. He's going to set up for the dive. Goes in, has the Counter-Strike active, stunned up, locked down. Can he get the revenge kill? Flashing out, able to survive. Meanwhile, the top lane, Tuberculosis falling to Ult the Clone. And there's kills going all over the map right now. It's a bloodbath, Primus.
Hey, that's exactly the type of game you like to see in the early game, Desero. You have the Renekton snowballing extremely far ahead of the Tuberculosis on the Mundo. He had that level 6 advantage to facilitate that dive because of all that extra health he gets from Dominus. But we do have Bubble Buddy rotating up.
Surprisingly, going after the bear. He is level 4, 2 levels behind Bubble Buddy. Out goes the charm, but a great flash coming out of the bear to keep him alive.
Yes, but that's both summoners down on Bubble Buddy with level 6s available for raise. The bear's going to hit his level 6 soon. And if Ari does not have Spirit Rush up, that's one dead Fox Lady.
So now, so far, the game has just been a bloodbath that's so far dead even, but you have to give it in terms of challengers. They have the kills on the late game carry. Meanwhile, the lane bully, Alt the Clone, having the kills for his team. Can really go either way with that, but you gotta like it more on Alcaroth.
Yes, and especially considering we saw how much he can execute in those team fights during that clip before the stream started, in that highlight clip. So we know he can execute in those team fights. That's a very nice double bubble coming in. 233 damage on that crit.
This is looking very bad for Kiora, who takes a ton of damage. Out goes the curtain call. Will it be curtains for either of these bot laners? Second shot lands, third shot whiffs, but there's the fourth shot landing flush onto its target. And Alcaroth is a beast right now, but look at the top lane. Solo gold going over solely to Alt the Clone.
Yes, Alt the Clone showing why he is such a dominant lane champion. He favors that Wukong, which was banned away from him because we were using Pro Draft before the stream started. We didn't see, so they had saved top lane for second rotation. He picks up the Renekton and proceeds to dominate his matchup, but Raze could be caught out.
Oh, he is going to flash away. He did have his little voidlings there to protect him from a charm, but did not want to risk it. Meanwhile, bot lane turret is going to go down. We do see that dragon started up from No Excuse, going after the Mountain Drake. Here comes the paranoia. The target is going to be the Mundo, and they chop him down, but sacrifice their jungler in the process.
Yeah, that was a little bit of anti-synergy coming in on the dive. We see the Mountain Drake, which is a very good decision coming in from challengers, but Bubble Buddy's coming up the top lane.
Yeah, constantly roaming, trying to stop the bleeding in this lane. And there we go, moving forward. This is looking so far so good for Bubble Buddy, who does have the Spirit Rush, but is out of mana, so this is a risky move to do overall. Cannot do the follow-up, able to get the kill, but should go down, does go down in the process.
But that's a 600 gold shutdown going over to Bubble Buddy, and honestly, in that situation, that 1-for-1 drastically favors challengers, even though they did lose a lot of turret health on their top lane tier 2. I'd have to favor them on that trade.
Yeah, and on top of that, they are winning out in the gold lead so far. Even though it's not much, it's looking good for them because Alt the Clone is playing to his win condition. He does have the Tiamat now, going for that blade, the Black Cleaver, mind you. And that's going to make it so much harder for Tuberculosis because he's going to get chopped through in a very speedy way.
He just needs time, and especially considering he can swap into this bottom lane, it means that he has access to easy farm. Yes, it's not going to be great, but he's not going to be under constant kill threat like he would be up in the top lane. So this is a good decision from challengers getting their Mundo out of that lane against Alt the Clone to continue trying to get farm onto this Mundo. While if I was AP Sedge, I would immediately rotate Alt the Clone down to that bottom lane, keep this 1v1 going for as long as possible, because that's your point of power. You want to continue that snowball.
Yeah, it's really on the back of Alt the Clone to carry this game early and try to make success happen for his team. He's got the gold lead, but can he translate that to global pressure? That's the question we need to find out as this game goes on.
It's going to be extremely difficult because he doesn't have that teleport. He took the lane-centric summoner, as we're seeing some nice words coming out from both teams. We're seeing a lot of pressure coming in from challengers around this Rift Herald because they have Tuberculosis down to the bottom lane. He has his teleport advantage, so they have numbers advantage as long as Kiora stays down in this bottom side. Because to be perfectly honest, we're probably eventually going to get to the state of this game where in order just to keep map pressure equal, Raze is going to have to match the Mundo because he's the only teleport on the side of AP Sedge.
Yeah, which is a kind of scary thing to do because Raze is the team fight oriented champion. He's good at picks when it comes to out-rotating, but for that to be followed up, he needs a team with him. And Prolific Visions, Nethergrass, all those combos by themselves do a lot of damage, but he doesn't have the money to make it that much worthwhile. But here comes the fight. The Bear going after the support Apex, but unable to kill him. Instead, goes down in the process. Still, the exchanges going back and forth. Alcaraz gets a lot of damage in, has that fourth shot, can get the movement speed move off of it, is able to find it, but the turret still goes down in the process, opening up the curtain call. There's not much to find in terms of kills. They're going to find their way out regardless. And
Yes, but Raze does get caught in the rotation. Is going to fall to Bubble Buddy. They do get the tier 2 top, but they lose 2 for 0 overall in terms of kills. And they're getting more and more gold on the Renekton, but the issue is their late game source, as Alta Clone could be caught out.
Oh, actually, he might be the one doing the catching. Bubble Buddy trying to run away. Ignite getting a lot of damage on, but there's that flash shield coming out of Epico. Able to keep his mid laner alive, and still Alcaraz yet to be caught just yet. Going forward, Alta Cologne doesn't want to go in on that, which you can't blame him. That's a Storm Razor Jhin, a very hard one to catch out when he has that hail of blades.
Yes, even though he is out of mana, it is always a risky proposition. I do want to go back to that dive that the bear went through. At that point, his item that he had Caulfield's and Skirmisher Saber. I remember this distinctly from watching a stream the other day, is that the difference between having Caulfield's and having a completed warrior is a BF sword worth of AD. Had he had that completed item, that's a dead Nami.
Yeah, but even then, you got to question if that's really, really worth it. If they get the tower in the end, I suppose, but to sacrifice your jungler who is this squishy at this point, doing tower dives like that, you're still giving gold back to the challengers. It's a risky thing to go for.
It is risky, but considering they're trying to keep themselves on the front foot, like it's not the greatest of situations. You have to pick your poison here because you're trying to get as much gold as possible early on as possible, because you know if this game hits 25 some odd minutes, your really only hope is Kiora, who's massively behind right now, is still trying to finish up her Rage Blade, is still probably looking at a couple hundred more gold before she has that completed, and Jin's already almost at 2 items.
Yeah, which is absolutely terrifying to deal with. You know, he's going to get that first crit from the Storm Razor, which is going to make him walk faster, as well as the Hail Blades procs. Good luck catching him. Good luck catching him.
Good old movement speed, Jin.
Yeah, the speed. The fast. Is that the meme? Is that what they call him?
Yes, I believe there's the video out on YouTube of speed mode Jin. Ooh, a little bit of a chunk onto Alt. The clone does still have Dominus, though. Ooh, yeah, this could be a big fight with Infernal up.
All right, this is a very, very key Drake to get at this stage of the game. Out goes the Glacial Fissure. A lot of damage going back and forth, but so far it's looking in favor of the challengers. The bear goes in. He finds his target onto the support, but immediately falls to Alcaraz. Alcaraz has a lot of damage to deliver, wants to get the shutdown onto Alt the Clone. Alt the Clone running for his life. He should be able to survive this, has enough movement speed to get away, but flashes forward. He wants to bring the kill. An amazing shutdown. Amazing outplay from Alt the Clone.
Yeah, that Renekton just a little bit too big, though. I have to go back to that start of the fight with Epic Sax Gandalf getting the Unbreakable up, blocking the Nami tidal wave, because that's what they were counting on for the initiation, and it gets completely shut down by Braum. It's why I always love playing Braum into Nami once you get to this level 6 point, because you can immediately stop the Nami tidal wave and immediately reinitiate with the Glacial Fissure. It's a great play to see coming out of Epic Sax that really turned the tide of that team fight. However, the Infernal Drake did still go over to the side of challengers, which is the better scaling team, getting more and more gold, and that's in terms of stats, which is never something you want to be seeing. Yes, you had that massive shutdown going over to Alt the Clone, but he's going to start falling off here soon.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. Around, I want to say 25 to 30 minutes, you'll start seeing pretty much a lot less effectiveness coming out from that Renekton pick. So it's a bit of a ticking time bomb. And with that Infernal Drake,
outside of when his flash is up, because that's about his only window of opportunity.
and really to talk about that Infernal Drake, there's no Drake a Jhin rather have. It's the most effective ADC to have that Infernal Drake on, and he's gonna absolutely love that because of the way his stats transition to AD.
I think the only AD carry that comes close to Jhin in terms of the Infernal Drake is Corki. That's just because he gets use of both the AD and the AP. I think that's really the only one who comes close on that.
But if you take a look in the top lane, we're going back to that classic matchup between Alt the Clone and Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis has been able to pick up a little bit of tank stats at this point, but it's not going to be too much unless he gets some backup, and you do have no excuse there around the corner. Alt the Clone's going to look to go in on this. A lot of damage going both ways thus far, but Alt the Clone's getting chunked out. Has the Ignite on Tuberculosis, risk it all, and picks it up big.
Yes, that's very big. Getting more gold onto Tuberculosis, who's been riding the struggle bus this entire game. Finally gets some extra gold. He got a kill in that earlier fight around the Drake. He gets a shutdown of 450, but we have the ultimate going on to nobody.
Yeah, great paranoia right there, you know. Ain't nothing like hearing that darkness and nothing to follow. But look at this flash forward coming up. Alcaroth, he gets the pick with aggression.
Yeah, Alcaroth is nothing to shake a stick at down on this 80 carry roll. However, with that flash down, if they look to set up a team fight later, that makes them a lot more vulnerable to Alt the Clone's potential dive, plus the ultimate from Raze, plus the ultimate from Sax, and the Bear. Like, he risked a lot to get a kill onto what was a 1-2 Kaisa. So it's going to be interesting to see how the side of Challengers plays around the fact that their Fed carry, who's 7-1, has the most gold, almost has the most gold in the game. Most gold on their team, at least. Does not have their flash and has no other mobility.
Well, other than just autoing once and suddenly having a ghost up almost all the time.
Yeah, but that's not the most reliable of escapes. Like, movement speed, while very nice, is not reliable escapes. Like, I mean in terms of, like, jumps, dashes, those are much more reliable forms of escape.
Only time will tell with that. Alt the Clone has proven before that he can assassinate this Jhin. And see if he can do it again once that flash is back up. But Alt the Clone going into a very weird spot here. The engage coming out. Out goes the tidal wave along with the curtain call. They have their sights set on Raze, but he is able to flash over the wall just in time. With the cooldowns down, I can't help but to feel, but challengers to just back off, not go for a fight. They don't have crucial cooldowns. It's a very scary situation if they choose to play forward, which they are right there, and down goes Bubble Buddy, caught out all by his lonesome. And now they're setting their sights towards a dragon that's not even spawning soon and giving up inner priority.
Yeah, that's going to be possibly an inhibitor tower falling because they have to take the long way around. They still have a minion wave. There's not a lot of wave clear available without this Ahri, and with they have to look for a fight. But here's the ultimate.
This is bad right here. A 3v5. Down goes Tuberculosis. And Alcaroth, you're not going to survive this one. Killer Instinct picks up one. Excuse is here, but what can he do in a 4v1 situation? They're giving up their inhibitor from very bad map positioning.
Yeah, well, it all started with Bubble Buddy being too far forward without the support of his team. Like, everyone else on his team was hovering around this Drake, which was so, like, 1 minute and 20 seconds from spawning, and there was no reason for him to be that far forward. He didn't have Spirit Rush up. He didn't have Flash up. Like, he was positioned so far forward without any mobility and just gets immediately bursted down by Alt the Clone. The Bear eventually secured the kill, but they lose an inhibitor because their team was in one spot and then had to take the long way around because they didn't set up the waves properly.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the win condition these teams have, where the challengers, they just have to survive to late, and
Well, no,
they
they're
do
doing
well
Baron.
there. But this is a very scary choice to go for. A lot of damage going to Alt the Clone. That's very crucial damage because he's the big opponent here. Setting him back might actually guarantee this Baron. They're gonna go for it. The Bear. Looking
Paranoia is
the
up.
Paranoia. He goes in, tries to get something done. He's finding nothing though. And the Baron will go over to the challengers. They managed to pick up Bubble Buddy in the process. Epic says Gandalf having to flash away. Raise the Bird, getting hit by the Cleaver and the Bullet in the back, opening up the current call. Glacial Fisher able to cancel it, but that's a huge power play to come out of the challengers.
Yes, they're able to get the Baron due to superior vision control, because we saw AP Sedge rotate through the enemy jungle and then rotate back into the mid lane. Like, you've already taken the inhibitor. There's no reason for you to go back into the mid lane. And they have no wards covering the Baron pit. They're able to set up total vision control of the area and just pick off whoever comes in check. So a very strong play coming out of challengers, despite the rather suspect play we saw a minute before.
Yeah, it's just silly moves back and forth. One of the key things, though, Alt the Clone got dropped low early. Without Alt, it feels like they don't have much to really work with when they want to get out their damage and take out those priority targets. They need to be careful about where Alt's positioning.
At least until he has Sterix. At least with Sterix, he has a little bit more wiggle room. But up until that item is completed, he has a very small point of reference, because if you look at the items coming in on the other damage threats, you have a Black Cleaver Nocturne for some reason. I'm not going to talk about that because that's all kinds of levels of questionable. And in the mid lane, you have a Rylai's second item, Malzahar. Like, I can understand you're wanting more CC on your team. Like, I can understand that, but you really haven't been playing very aggressively on this Malzahar, which is really what you need to do, because Malzahar isn't the greatest scaling damage champion. He really needs to facilitate those picks with his ultimates, because we've seen absolutely zero QSSs built.
This is a very scary situation for
That's
AB Sedge.
Gandalf.
They're going a little bit too far forward now. Alt the Clone all by himself, doesn't really have any backup, gets deleted. Kiora is gonna be next. Tuberculosis, landing clavers, landing pain. Out goes the Paranoia, but at this point, Nocturne is the paranoid one as he runs away. Out going that fourth shot. Look at the bullets land flush. Down goes Bear, and that is an ace, ladies and gentlemen. Challengers looking to challenge AP Sejuani Bot.
Yeah, very nice plays coming out of Alcaroth, who gets so much poke damage. They have a minion wave from No Excuse. They actually won that 4v5. No Excuse was pushing the bot lane the entire time.
Because they did the whole a new challenger has appeared method, where we send them in one by one, and there you go, an ace picked up by challengers, and now 2 inhibitors. I wonder how in the world do you come back from this? It is absolutely devastating.
I mean, if I was AP Sedge, what I would do is literally funnel every resource you can onto Kiora's Kaisa, because he's pretty much your win condition at this point. Alt the Clone's fallen off at this point in the game. Yes, he finally has that Sterix gauge completed, but he's not going to be able to reliably get on to Alcaroth, because I'm assuming he has Infinity Edge Gold in his pocket right now. You have the Zanias completed onto Bubble Buddy. You have a massive No Excuse who has the most farm in the game as a jungler, I want to say. and you have a Tuberculosis as a Dr. Mundo who's just gonna sit there. It's just like, okay, you want to blow all your cooldowns on me, that's fine. Like, I think just at this point in the game, like, it's just, you concede all the super minion waves to Kiora and hope somehow, some way you get the perfect team fight where he kills everyone.
Which is still a ways off, because he does need that Rabadon's death cap to be at that critical point that Kaisas are well known for. All the money is so firmly on Alt the Clone, and he's past his prime. There's nowhere else to go but down from here.
Yes, let me put it this way. There is almost a 3,000 gold difference between both teams' two strongest characters. Alt the Clone is up 3k over Tuberculosis, and Kiora's down 3k to Alkaroth. But the issue is that it's a early game champion versus two late game champions.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a good spot to be in. And to be honest, I have to look at Rise here. He has to look to try to get a Flash Ultimate onto Alkaroth because there's still no QSSs being built. He has to step up and try to make a big play here to give Alt the Clone a chance to get his damage down, because if he doesn't set up Alt the Clone, they're pretty much done.
Yeah, this is really the last chance to fight on their terms. But the engage coming out of no excuse. Gandalf takes a lot of damage, looks to drop in the process. Out goes the Paranoia. The fight so far going very deep underneath this tower. They managed to find one, but they've lost two so far. They managed to get another, but look at the 4 members standing of the challengers. No excuse goes down. So does Kiora. That's gonna be the complete ace. They only lost 2, but the main carries are up and they're ready to bring demolition to the nexus of AP Sejuani bot.
Yes, but this is only game number 1 coming in 2 challengers. It is a best of 3. So we're gonna need to be looking at AP Sejuani bot to regroup, respawn, and come back for a strong game 2.
Yeah, easier said than done though, because their draft, while it had a condition to win early, it was very mixed with the way they put their eggs in their basket. They really needed Kiora to start popping off in that late game, and she just couldn't get the gold. That's what it came down to. Alt the Clone had he was an investment banker right there. He was drowning in money, but Renekton just can't do much with that, you know? It's a big investment for not much return.
To be honest, if you could take that 3,000 gold surplus you had on your Renekton and put that onto Kiora, that late game fight is an entirely different story, because Kiora was stuck clearing minion waves. You put that extra 3,000 gold onto a Kaisa, that's a full Rabadon's essentially being given over, and potentially they have the chance to win that late game team fight. However, we have to give credit where credit is due. That Baron call coming in from challengers was mwah, the stuff I love to see, because it's the perfect opportunity. The enemy team just took an inhibitor. They're going to look to reset. You just immediately rush Baron because they're not going to have wards up to defend that. It was a great call. And I have to say, Alkaroth, you are a bloody monster on AD carry. I am absolutely terrified for anyone who has to lane against you.
Oh, tell me about it. He bullied Kiora in ways that should be illegal. At this point. We should really, that's outright cyberbullying. That was some scary stuff.
Kiora has a family, Alkaroth. You need to step back, take a breath, and let the guy have a little bit of space to breathe, okay?
But on that note, we are going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to see if AP Sejuani bot, has an answer to that aggression that came out of challengers. Stay tuned. There's more action to come. Oh,
they are going to always have side lane priority, because even if Alt the Clone can theoretically fight, as we're seeing more and more trades. Oh, that was dirty.
That was absolutely filthy. The chain of damage and CC. There was nowhere else for him to go but the grave. But we do have a little bit of a fight breaking out. What's this top side? Tuberculosis.
Challengers, but Bubble Buddy's coming up the top lane.
Yeah, constantly roaming, trying to stop the bleeding in this lane. And there we go, moving forward. This is looking so far so good for Bubble Buddy, who does have the Spirit Rush, but is out of mana, so this is a risky move to do overall. Cannot do the follow-up, able to get the kill, but should go down. Does very key Drake to get at this stage of the game. Out goes the Glacial Fissure. A lot of damage going back and forth, but so far it's looking in favor of the challengers. The bear goes in, he finds his target onto the support, but immediately falls to Alkaroth. Alkaroth has a lot of damage because he's the big opponent here. Setting him back might actually guarantee this Baron. They're going to go for it. The bear Look at
Paranoia is
the
up.
Paranoia. He goes in, tries to get something done. He's finding nothing though. And the Baron will go over to the challengers. They managed to pick up Bubble Buddy in the process. Epic says Gandalf having to flash away. Raise the bird, getting hit by the cleaver and the bullet in the back, opening up the current call. Glacial Fisher. This is a very scary situation for AB Sedge. They're going a little bit too far forward now. Ult the Clone all by himself, doesn't really have any backup, gets deleted. Kiora is gonna be next. Tuberculosis, landing cleavers, landing pain. Out goes the Paranoia, but at this point, Nocturne is the paranoid one as he runs away. Out going that fourth shot. Look at the bullets land flush. Down goes Bear, and that is an ace, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is really the last chance to fight on their terms. But the engage coming out of no excuse. Gandalf takes a lot of damage, looks to drop in the process. Out goes the Paranoia. The fight so far going very deep underneath this tower. They managed to find one, but they've lost two so far. They managed to get another, but look at the 4 members standing of the challengers. No excuse goes down. So does Kiora. That's gonna be the complete ace. They only lost 2.